Hello, first grade. It's so great to have you back. Welcome back to the rainforest. Today, we're going to be talking about the layers of the rainforest and, in particular, the mammals that live in them. Now, human beings are mammals, and so one way to think about that and to remember what a mammal is that people breathe air, and so all mammals breathe air. People have a backbone, and so all mammals have backbones. People grow hair. And so all mammals at some point in their lives grow hair. And people, female people, produce milk for their young. And so that's the case for all mammals as well. In order to be a mammal, all four of those things have to be true. And so let's keep taking a look at mammals in the rainforest along with the layers where they live to learn more about them. All right, let's go. To start, let's just do a quick review of what a rainforest is. I want you paying close attention for the types of rainforests, the layers of the rainforest, and of course, the animals that live in the rainforest. Let's go.
It's a drizzly, rainy day outside, so we thought we'd pull out a few of our books and explore some cool, colorful places where wet weather is pretty much the only weather there is. I'm talking about rainforests. You can probably tell from the name that rainforests have a whole lot of two things: trees and rain. And sure enough, rainforests get more rain than any other place on Earth. In some areas of the rainforest, it rains every day. And people often think that rainforests all look like this: warm and steamy, with animals like colorful birds and plants like bananas and mango trees. And there are lots of rainforests like that. But a rainforest can also look like this: home to animals that are adapted to cooler weather, like bears and elk. Both of these places are rainforests, but they're found in different parts of the world. The warm rainforests are found here, close to the imaginary line that runs around the middle of the Earth. This part of the world is called the tropics. It gets lots of sun, which is why the temperature is really warm almost all of the time. And there are a lot of different kinds of plants and animals that live in these warm rainforests. So many, in fact, that scientists talk about the rainforest as having layers that change as you go from the top to the bottom. And different animals and plants live in each layer. For example, at the top layers of the rainforest in the tropics, all you can see is the very tippy tops of the tallest trees. There's lots of sunlight up there that the trees use to grow. So these tall trees have lots of leaves. And these big leafy trees make lots of shade. They block some of the sunlight from getting to the lower layers, kind of like a big green umbrella. And all of the leaves and fruit in the top layers means that there's plenty of food for animals to eat. So many different kinds of animals live up here, like insects, parrots, bats, monkeys, and sloths. Some of these animals never even go down to the ground at all. They don't need to. Everything they need is at the top of the rainforest. Now, the lower layers don't get as much sunlight as the top, but they're still home to plenty of living things like snakes, lizards, and even big cats like tigers and jaguars. And just like the animals at the top of the rainforest, animals down below are perfectly suited to the place where they live. The big cats, for example, have patterns on their coats that help them blend in with the rainforest. The jaguar has spots, and the tiger, as you all know, has stripes. And these patterns help the animals hide amongst the shadows of the trees. Okay, but what about the cooler rainforests? They're found here, much farther away from the tropics. These rainforests are cooler because they don't get as much sun as the warmer ones. They also have layers, but the plants and animals that live there are pretty different. The top layer of cooler rainforest, for example, is made of conifers. Those are the kinds of trees that usually have cones, like pines and redwood trees. And these kinds of trees have needles too, like some other kinds of evergreens. These needles help the trees save energy during the cold winters. And it's not only the plants that are different here. Animals that live in these rainforests also have to be able to live in cooler temperatures. So many of the creatures that live in the lower layers of these rainforests have coats that help keep them warm. For example, some tigers live in these cool rainforests, and they also have striped coats that help them blend into the shadows. But their fur is nice and thick, so it keeps them warm. And other furry mammals live in these cold forests, like brown bears, black bears, and elk. quite different from the macaws and monkeys that live in the warmer forests. Wow, that was quite an imaginary tour. We went all over the world in just a few minutes. But now I want to find out even more about the amazing rainforests around our world. Come on, Squeaks, let's head to the library. Thanks for joining us on SciShow Kids. Do you have a question about something or...
All right, boys and girls. So, wow, that was a ton of information. Did anybody pay attention for the types of rainforests? Yeah, tropical and temperate. What about the layers and how there are forest floors and understory and the canopy and then all the way up top the emergent layer and how different animals live in them? And how so many different animals live in rainforests and how they're different depending on what type of rainforest you're in. Incredible. So let's take a look at the forest floor. Now here is an example of the forest floor in a tropical rainforest, and here's one in a temperate rainforest. Either way, there is tons of life, and both are home to some of the biggest animals in the rainforest. Keep in mind, mammals in tropical rainforests live on all the different layers, whereas in temperate rainforests, while you might find animals in all different layers, most of them still stick to the forest floor. So here are some pictures of mammals that live on the forest floor. In tropical rainforests, you might find, sorry about that. You might find the okapi, you might find Sumatran rhinoceros, and then in temperate rainforests, you might find deer or wolf. There are plenty more, but these are just some examples. Now, as you know, and we've been through many times, mammals breathe air, have backbones, and grow hair at some point in their lives. And female mammals produce milk for their babies to eat. Let's take a look at gorillas. They're a mammal that live in tropical rainforests.
And now, it's time for some more amazing animals. Number 2255, the amazing gorilla. These western lowland gorillas are found in Western Africa, in the lowlands. They're mostly vegetarians and like to eat roots, shoots, fruit, bark, and wild celery.
Yeah, make sure you wash it first.
Gorillas can climb trees, sometimes,
Watch out below!
but prefer to spend most of their time on the ground.
No, I don't want to be on the ground.
Well, if we run fast enough,
Maybe we'll fly.
yeah, we'll fly.
Maybe we won't. That was stupid.
A group of gorillas is known as a troop. They're led by a male silverback who also likes to lie on his back.
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
The silverback decides where the troop eats and sleeps.
Good idea. Excuse me.
Baby gorillas stay with mom until they're 5 months old.
Wait, I'm not tired.
Playtime is very important for learning how to fit in.
Like the massage, sir.
Ow, yes, ow. Oh, very relaxing. Ow, yeah, thank you. The youngsters try to copy their big daddy.
Look at me, I'm climbing right now. We're climbing to the top.
Gorillas.
Those guys are crazy.
And sometimes dad will even play with them. Oh.
Ah, Dad, tag, you're it.
Oh, great.
Whee, look at me.
What now?
Ah,
Classic.
Kids. They may be a bunch of hairy show-offs, but the western lowland gorilla is truly an amazing animal.
All right. And so gorillas are a mammal that live on the forest floor of the tropical rainforest. Now, this one surprised me, that raccoons actually live in the forest in temperate rainforests. And this surprised me because I would often find them back home in New York City, which is such a crazy thought. So I guess that goes back to the idea of how different mammals can live in all different places, but not to be surprised when you find them there in different habitats. So let's check this out, keeping in mind that while yes, raccoons live in cities, they live in different, they might live here, they also live in temperate rainforests. Let's go.
And now, it's time for some more amazing animals. Number 160, the amazing raccoon. This rascally little mammal is extremely adaptable. Raccoons are very good at living amongst us, but they also live wild throughout North and Central America. They're about the size of a large cat, but they're more related to bears.
And you can't bear it when I steal your food.
Baby raccoons don't leave the den for the first few months.
Pizza.
8 weeks later, it's time to leave.
Mom, we're late for the picnic, and I got dumpster diving at 5.
Raccoons are incredibly agile.
I've got this. Okay, I haven't got this.
Most of the time. They have amazing paws that have highly sensitive touch receptors.
Yes, we got a good handle on things.
Raccoons are opportunistic omnivores.
Hey, quit trash talking me.
It means they'll pretty much eat anything.
Actually, that's true, but it's your fault for leaving this stuff lying around. We don't want to waste it.
And speaking of waste, raccoons communicate by marking their territory with their poop. Gross! Not on the roof! But the main aim is to stuff yourself silly before the winter hits.
Oh, what? How did that happen? And the restaurant is open. High five!
They need the food to build up body fat to make it through the winter.
Pizzas, hot dogs, pass the ketchup. Oh, sorry.
We see them as backyard bandits, but the raccoon really is an amazing animal.
So something that I found really fascinating was that part about how their paws act as touch receptors. That seems like a perfect adaptation that would allow raccoons to protect themselves and to survive in a temperate rainforest. If there were a predator down on the ground, it would make it so easy for a raccoon to climb up a tree and to get away and escape and save itself. It also might help a raccoon to get some food and some of its own prey that might be high up. So that might be a wonderful adaptation or a way that it protects itself and makes sure it survives. All right, let's keep going. Now, here is the understory and some animals that live in the understory layer. That's the second from the bottom in the rainforest. Now, these are all animals from tropical rainforests. They are not all mammals, are they? Absolutely not. Which one do you think is a mammal? Is it the tree frog? The leopard? Or the boa constrictor? Did you say leopard? Yes. And here's why. Leopards breathe air, they have backbones, they grow hair at some point in their life, and the females produce milk for their young. Do you notice how I keep saying this over and over again? Boa constrictors and tree frogs do some of these things, but they don't do all of them, and so they are not mammals. Now the canopy is the second from the top layer. This is the ceiling of the tropical rainforest, not the rainforest. Sloths are an animal that live mainly in the canopy. And some adaptations that they make in order to survive include staying up in the canopy. They can't really walk very well. And so they avoid the forest floor no matter what, because if a predator comes, they can't get away. They also have this gray-brown fur with a greenish tint from algae that helps them camouflage in the leaves. That means that they can't really be seen too easily. And then also they have these long curved claws that help them to grasp onto branches, and in fact they hang upside down and can even sleep that way. Pretty cool. But these adaptations help sloths to survive in the tropical rainforest. And now, in the emergent rainforest, one of the mammals that you might find are the capuchin monkeys. Now, these guys are fascinating. They have something called a prehensile tail. And what that means is that they have a tail that is so flexible that it can be used to grab onto a tree almost as if it's a fifth hand. And not only can it grab onto a tree, it can actually grab onto food like bananas. So cool. That means it's got its other four hands or paws to climb. And if you're up that high in the canopy or in the emergent layer, excuse me, you better have as many legs and paws and claws as you can. Also, they have super strong arms and legs that help them to climb. And in order to stay safe, they live in large groups of 10 to 35 monkeys. Those are great adaptations to have to protect themselves and to make sure that they survive. All right, so today's assignment and task. Today you have to write or draw and label 5 things you learned. Now, my expectation is that you use your best handwriting, whether you're writing sentences, and yes, they should be sentences, or whether you're drawing and labeling. Now, lined paper for sentences is definitely best, and make sure you label each fact in a list. So I apologize, this is just a Post-it, but it is lined. So what you would do is you would put your name at the top, and then right underneath it the number 1, and you would write your fact next to it. Then you'd skip a line, and you'd write the number 2, and you'd write your fact next to number 2, and you'd skip a line. I know it's backwards, but I guess that's the way e-learning works. I'm looking for 5 facts. Now you can certainly draw and label your facts as well, but I want them carefully done. You're capable. I know it. I've seen it in class, and I am so certain that you can do it. So get to work on it already. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow or later on. Okay, bye-bye.